And question 206, what are the effects of penance?
The effects of penance are that the person who abandoned God is now received back, is liberated from sin, is pardoned, is forgiven. That's the first effect. That presumes the person repents. Mm-hmm. Then that includes that the person, if it was a mortal sin, the person now has sanctifying grace again. The life of God in the soul is restored. It also includes peace restored with God. That is good relationship from God's side, never broken. From the side of the sinner, broken before. Peace restored with God, with Christ, with the church. Because the sinner in mortal sin also ruins relationship with the church. Repentance and return and forgiveness restore that communion and make the person fit to receive Holy Communion, Holy Eucharist. Because when the person was in sin, mortal sin, the person was not fit to receive. Moreover, it makes the person more able to work towards the person's salvation, because it equips the forgiven person to resist temptations or habits of sin. So for all, you can see that this sacrament does many things altogether. Right. So it is sometimes called the sacrament of penance, other times sacrament of reconciliation.
So if we have faults, this is, in venial sins, this is a sacrament that will help us to overcome these faults, even though we don't have to confess them.
Also that, yes. Mm-hmm. If we have venial sins, and we hope nobody has mortal sin, but for most Christians who are striving to love God more and more, they will not have mortal sin. At least generally it will not happen. Right. But human weakness may mean that they have venial sins. Mm-hmm. For these people, making an effort to love God more, frequent reception of this sacrament of penance or reconciliation is highly recommended. It is not demanded, but it is highly recommended. It will, among other things, give them strength to resist those weaknesses in future.
Well, I've heard of sometimes people tell us that priests say when they go to confession with their venial sins, and they say, well, that's not a serious sin. Why did you bother confessing it? And for example, even missing, if you belong to a religious association and didn't fulfill your rule that you're obligated to do, this would be a fault you would want to confess. And some people ridicule that. So you just don't have to have serious sins to go to confession.
Let us distinguish between a fault and a sin.
Yes.
Every failing is not necessarily even a venial sin. You mentioned religious associations. Many religious associations have their rules, yes. Almost all of them. Mm-hmm. But their rules are not all of equal weight.
Right.
And even the same association has several rules, and in some of them they may say expressly, these do not bind under sin, right. Not even venial sin. Mm-hmm. But of course, depending on the particular rule, what the rule is.
Right.
Uh-huh. So, if we go then on a more general plane, we can say this. When it is a sin, mortal or venial, it is matter for confession. Mm-hmm. If it is not a sin at all, it is not matter for confession. However, a person can, after confessing sins, maybe venial, the person can also relate to the priest confessor a general weakness or problem or spiritual root of problems because the confessor is a general doctor of the soul and spiritual advisor. He is not there just to hear murder cases that you must kill 2 or 3 people before you go to confession. The church doesn't say that. Therefore, to come back again, confession is obligatory if there is mortal sin. If there is venial sin, it is highly recommended. The person can also confess general weaknesses or tendencies to evil in the desire that the confessor, being an expert doctor of the soul, will give the penitent general advice and direction.